All right, so I've actually come to appreciate this role of financial planning and analysis only after I started my own business, which is basically meant to be careers. And the appreciation actually came from the fact that there is so much data that you can actually analyze. And since I already come from an analysis background, from investments angle, so there is obviously this tendency that I would probably want to analyze each and every data possible. But I also understand at the same time that there are only few kinds of data points or metrics which actually help me in running the business. Because remember that if you're running a business, or think about big corporations like HUL and, Reliance, right? So they have to run the business and they cannot be looking at each and every small data points, but they need insights from very specific data matrix which can help the management in taking decisions, or rather even that whether I am actually running the business correctly or I am on the right path, right? And that's exactly what financial planning and analysis, and very short and sweet, designation would be the kind of a person who gives me that insight on from all the data points which are generated in the business from a financial angle, in running the business. And that is basically FP&A. And in this video, what we'll actually do is we will dig in deeper in order to understand this role properly, so that you also understand that whether this kind of a career actually makes sense for you personally, whether your personal attributes and personal characteristics and interest aligns with this kind of a role, right? So first, let's understand what does an FP&A analyst actually do, right? So think about practically departments that are there in the business. So there is HR, there's marketing, there's finance, there's accounting, hell lot of departments interconnected. And now all of these interconnected systems are obviously going to generate so much amount of data. Now, data is good in one way, saying that we need data and we should be able to collect all the forms of data. But the point is that how much of these or which of these are going to actually help me in running the business. For example, let me give you the scale of problem. So if you just look at HR, human resource, right? So you have data points like salary costs, you have got attendance, you've got logged in hours, how many hours has your employee actually logged in an hour in a month, right? How many leaves were taken, how many projects are these all employees assigned to, right? And what are the productive levels? But the problem is, if I just put down this entire data in a spreadsheet and give it to you or a manager, he will not be able to make any sense out of it. So you want someone who can only take out things which do matter from the business point in terms of taking a decision in the future. So for example, productivity levels would be very, very important, because I understand that whether, if I have 5 people in sales versus 6 people in sales, which is the absolute efficient amount of people that I should be having, right? Now, let's say if the system suggested, okay, the FP&A suggested, okay, I should actually be having only 5 people in the team, but I should be improving these and these productive levels. Now, that's the kind of insight which can be given to that specific team in order for them to take the business forward, right? So you understand what the problem is. You need an FP&A guy who can work cross functions, right? So he's independent of cross functions across HR, marketing, accounting, whichever field, but he can, understand first of all at the business level what is the key performance indicator, right? And then meet across cross teams, bring them together in a meeting, and then decide that, okay, these are the things which we need to change. I'll give you a very clear example, right? For example, if the management wants to okay, we want to spend, let's say, X and Y budget in marketing. So what is going to be my ROI, return on investment? So that's the key metric that you want to track. So probably what the management can be given an insight on is the fact that, your Google ad spend is giving you an ROI of about 200%, but maybe your social media channels are only giving you about 30%. So maybe the budget needs to be reallocated more towards this channel. A little more money probably needs to be spent on SEO, or maybe just physical marketing. So that's the kind of insight that we're talking about as an FP&A analyst, right? So second, if we look at FP&A analyst, what would the day-to-day, work or schedule actually look like, right? So this is pretty interesting, because people think that it's all about just creating Excel sheets and analyzing data on that, but that's not actually works. Neither in investment banking, neither in FP&A. Is more challenging, because you are part of a team where there is a business head related to revenue, there is people management manager or a head, HR head, you've got your accounting head, you've got the CFO, you've got the CEO, you've got the marketing, chief marketing officer. Bring all of them together, right? Understand and get them to agree on certain matrices which we want to achieve. And that's the major problem with, or probably a challenging task in an FP&A work, is to bring all these teams together and get them to agree, right? So how would a typical day would look like? Probably a person would be looking, let's say, salary data or revenue data, and would want to understand what are the key areas which are causing this performance to happen, and which things which probably are not really increasing the productivity. Are there any costs which creating leakages in the business which could be saved and which could increase productivity somewhere else? Right, so that could be one of them. And a typical one of the day could be just your CFO calls you and says that I want to understand if we can spend 15 crores in this new plant or new product that we want to launch. So that's called as an ad hoc analysis, right? And forecasting, right? So forecasting of businesses' performance on a month basis is the job of an FP&A analyst. And that means that if, let's say, a month was planned in advance, right, did the actual performance work according to that or not? If it did not, then what is the variance, right? And that's exactly called as variance analysis. So variance analysis becomes a big part in FP&A profile, right? Second is business plan forecasting, which means that annual business plan. Now you might think that annual business plans are actually made at the end of the year, but that's not how it actually works in the real big businesses, right? Year planning happens right from the start. It accumulates basis on how we are performing in the current year, which gives us the assumptions to create forecast for the next year. So that's the biggest role of an FP&A analyst. And we had actually interviewed one of our ex-students who did financial modeling course with us and who got placed as an FP&A analyst. And this is what he had to say about his day-to-day activity and the kind of skills which he uses on a daily basis.
Like, listen to calls. There are quarterly calls. Every listed company has its quarterly earnings release. Read their financials. Reach out to more people. That's one thing. It starts with modeling, because you have that groundwork to estimate the numbers, to forecast the numbers, which is done only in modeling.
Now, once you've watched this video of Rohan, you can understand that there are three key skills which are actually required to function as an FP&A analyst, and which is quite similar to even investment banking, but in a different sense, right? In investment banking, what is happening is you are external to a company and you're investing in the company, right? Skills required: collecting data from departments. So that is one of the big issues, because you need to collect data from all possible areas which are basically consuming any form of cost. Second is building and deciding on financial modeling template. Remember, financial modeling is not generic. Financial modeling obviously depends on the kind of decision making that you're doing. So financial model for an FP&A case could be very different basis kind of business it is operating. So it might be very different for a manufacturing company. It might be different for, let's say, a service-based company. It might be very different from an education company. So you need to decide on the template that we're going to be using for this analysis. Then the third is forecasting revenue, cost, and profitability. That means I need to understand the linkages of how profit margins, how various costs are affecting my margins. Remember, businesses are done to create profits. So if profits are not there, there's no point of doing businesses, right? So you need to understand what are these matrices and what triggers are causing these matrices to fall or go up or down, right? So example, if a company spends more than 35 to 40% on marketing, there's a great chance, and let's say 40% on salary, so about 80% of the money is already gone. So we just need 20%. Now, if you were to take about 10 to 15% as other costs, then the margin which is actually left in the business is only 5%. So it doesn't really make sense. So that means there is some inefficiencies in marketing and there is some inefficiencies in the people that we've hired, which needs to be optimized in order for us to justify the margins. Because remember, each and every quarter, again, the CFO has to deal with the investors, and they're going to ask, 10 different kind of questions related to the margins. The answer that the CFO has to give, right? Now let's talk about the fact that if you wanted to build a career in FP&A, what could you do? So we run a 3.5 months course on financial modeling with placement support in FP&A. So Remember, the same skills, the same understanding is required as you would probably want to get into an investment banking job would be similar to an FP&A. The only thing that would be different was, in terms of an interview experience with, let's say, investment bank, equity research, project finance, or FP&A, there would be focus on cost accounting related concepts like FP, like variance analysis, budgeting, forecasting, which should not be a very big deal if you are coming from a commerce background. So theoretically, that's the difference, but the skill requirement and the understanding of the business remains same. So we run a 3.5 months course. If you want to understand about that, you can click on the description and you can get in touch with us, at least to understand whether that kind of a career is possible for you. And we have shown certain placement examples out here in your screen, which you can see. These are the various students who have actually got placed in FP&A, and that's how we actually function in courses. So now, if you have any questions related to the FP&A, please do put it in the comment box. And in the next video, what I would want to probably cover the career paths for an FP&A analyst. So FP&A analyst is generally where you start. What the various other career paths which are available once you become an FP&A analyst is the next video's topic. So do tune in and do subscribe to the channel if you have still not. And I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.